Hi guys, Captain Manfred here. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're gonna talk about a movie I watched. The movie Bladerunner 2. I should call it because I don't want to call the full name. Anyway, we begin with our main protagonist, who is a replicant hunter. He is a replicant detective hunter He's a replicant hunter detective. And he does his usual job, and he gets a job that he needs to investigate one rogue old replicant from the first movies that has done something, or it's a job. He needs to find him and register in the register data, and need to take out his eye. Important with eyes in this movie. Anyway, he does that, he kills him, but then before he kills him he says, I don't want to do this the hard way, so he wanted, just him to send back to the base HQ by not forcing him to kill him, but it didn't go that way. It did go worse. And the guy got killed, but he died fast. He didn't die with so much pain. And the replicant, the robot. And then our main protagonist, Deckard, I should call it Deckard, he takes out the eye, he scans the eye, he goes back into the car, he says, yeah, my mission is done, and then they say return to return to HQ and such. And then he discovers something on the tree. It was a tree outside where the replicant had a farm of some form of worm farm for worm food, for food of... It's some form of a plantation of worms in the future, where they have some form of, worms that they eat, that in the future they eat worms of some sort as food and food supply. So behind that it was a tree with a marked number. I think it was 20, no, it was a special number anyway. And we will see this number throughout the movie later on. So he discovers under the tree, with the special scanner of his little cop car that has a special drone that scans under the earth, and it's some form of box inside of the earth. Sorry, it's some form of box inside the earth. So he says to the HQ to scan it and take it out, and then they discover later on in the movie that it's a corpse of someone that has died under the tree many years ago. And in this future you can come back to Earth and in and out of Earth. There are two planets. One planet that's colonized out in space, and Earth. That's related to this in the movie. I think it is. Yeah. It was at least related in the books. Anyway. What was it? Yeah. Also our main protagonist Deckard also finds a little box. A type of Russian little... a type of small little Russian metal box, old, back from the times, basically back before future technology showed up here, basically. 5 or maybe 6 years ago. And inside the box, it's a picture of a woman and a baby. And a sock of some sort, a baby sock. He's trying to figure out who left it here, who can it be, what can it be, or who can it be the baby, who is the baby, or who is the child, anyway. And in the HQ, they discovered that, in the lab section, they discovered that this woman was pregnant, had a child, and then died of some unknown circumstances. So our main protagonist, Joe, as I should call him, I don't want to call his number, because his number was always mentioned in the movie, but I will call him Ash or Joe from this point. And then he gets a nickname from his hologram robot. The main protagonist, also. The main protagonist, I mean. I'm gonna drink a bit. Oh boy. Or chocolate with milk. Nice. Another one, thank you. Anyway, he discovers with his hologram girlfriend, that in the archives of the register that he is missing, or that some child was born during the number that he found on the tree root under the tree that he investigated before with the dead woman. And that the dead woman was the old versions of the replicants. The replicants that could think for themselves. Sorry. The replicants that could think for themselves and independently do for themselves. So, it must mean that this child thinks that this child exists somewhere in the world. In the story. Or in the movie, I mean. And we discover in the movie that our main protagonist thinks about, he listens, he eats food, he talks with his AI, he talks with his hologram lady, or hologram chick. That I actually minded myself when I didn't want to hear his number all the time. He didn't speak much the number, and I think it's Los Angeles. In the movie, it takes place in Los Angeles, or this futuristic city, but it looked a bit like Russia. They talked a lot of Russian, and had some also Japanese, posters and signs and other stuff. It's futuristic. Anyway, it was an interesting combination. It's in the United States, but it's also talking Russia in the zones he's coming later on in the movie, or where he lives in the apartment. Some people talk Russian as well. So, and they also criticize him because they think they think that the main protagonist is also a replicant, a newer model, or something like that hunts replicants. He's a cop, basically. Or a detective cop-ish thing. Anyway, a detective cop-ish. But then he goes into his apartment, talks to his hologram chick or girlfriend. Yeah, girlfriend. And, talks about his day and stuff. And then tries to investigate about the number. And he then remembers some form of memory that is associated with this number when he was a child. So then the movie is about a bit 2 seconds. Then the movie is a bit more about chasing his past, trying to figure out who he is, what he is, if he's a human, is he not a human. And also we also see the bad guy. He goes to the archives with the hairlock that he got from the dead corpse, from the dead skeleton back in the past in the box, in the beginning of this review. He took a bit of sample to analyze if the woman was an old replicant back in the past in the records. And of course, because some form 2 seconds. Some form of problem happened in the Blade Runner universe. Some form of rebellion happened with the old replicants, and they destroyed the database of where they saved all the data with an MP missile, and an attack on the database, base and stuff. So they destroyed everything from the records. So now they have only physical copies of records in the archives, which our main protagonist goes to and tries to find it. And some funny joke is that, a bit of funny, maybe a bit of dark humor and a bit funny joke thing, was that one of the workers that worked there, he said, "Oh, this is an old version. This is an old replicant, a very old one. A really old one, like really old." Which is one of the old ones I told you before in the beginning, or one of the old ones that is in the beginning of this movie. But anyway, 2 seconds, my mouse. He also investigates that the other guy says, "Oh, my mom cries for my baby pictures because the blackout took out everyone's pictures, everyone's information, including replicants and humans, baby photos and whatever, and information stuff." And the movie draws a lot of themes that to become a person, or to am a person, you have experiences, while a machine, or a doll in this case, doesn't have experiences, which is a replicant in this case. If we have experiences, then we are the human. And if we don't, then it's unsure if we are human or not. Anyway, he tries to find 2 seconds again. He tries to find out more about his past, and he discovers that he needs to go somewhere in an orphanage outside in the streets of yeah, very far away where there are a lot of junk, where they collect a lot of junk and stuff. And he discovers that in one of the memories, he goes to a memory bank person that collects memories later after he discovered about the DNA, or about, not about the DNA, about the codes that there were two children born in the specific in the specific date where the tree had the date on it, in the tree root, in the specific date. Anyway, he goes to that orphanage, finds a jackass that makes children work like slave labor, which I didn't like much, but I enjoy the scenery. Pretty interesting. It's futuristic, it's a bit dark, so it makes sense. And it doesn't make sense with the slavery of children working with chips and other technical stuff that should be very dangerous for children. And they were like 5 or 6. Nah, it's not my problem though. It's the problem of the guy that's taking care of them there, or that's using them. So our main protagonist beats the shit out of him in the face and makes him bleed in the nose. And basically beats the shit. And he wants to find information about himself. He wants to know, was I born here? Was I here? Why did my parents leave me here or something, you know? Why did they leave him here? In that orphanage, where the children are now working with medical, or with, not medical, with electrical ships and other stuff. Electrical ships and data, basically. And he discovers that 2 pages are ripped out of the book, which were those decades which he was there. And P.S. he also went into the other thing I told you about with where you can do fake memories. A fake memory facility. And it's a girl in there that's encased in a type of glass bubble area. Because if she's not in there, she will die because she's very sensitive to bacteria and has no good defense immune system. She has no good defense immune system, so she will die if she goes out in the real world, basically. So she's the woman that makes new memories for replicants or for humans or for anyone with a special camera that is big like this and switch out and do other stuff. Memories, childhood memories like birthdays, whatever, your birth, bad problems, bullies, maybe. I'm not sure. Any memory anyway. And then she, our main protagonist, while he's there, I'm jumping a bit back and forth here of the movie. Sorry, 2 seconds again. It's not easy to remember this movie because I need to go back in my mind. And this movie I watched, I think 3 or 4 days ago. Anyway, whatever. He goes into his 2 seconds again. He, what should we say? She says to him, you know, if you want me to investigate your memories, and if they are real memories and not implanted, because he thinks that his memories are implanted because he thinks he's a replicant in the main movie. Our main protagonist thinks he is a replicant, but in reality he is not. So I think he was not a replicant. Anyway, she looks into his memories. She says, think about those suffering memories, which we watched before. He was a child without hair, basically bald like me. Yeah, basically bald like me. And he was in a fighted against some bullies, some pretty asshole bullies, back in the orphanage where he was when he investigated when he was older, which is basically now, in the present. Where he was investigating. 2 seconds, my throat again. Thank you. Sorry for my throat. It's not easy to remember everything. It's a very complicated and very beautiful movie, but very complicated to explain. Really complicated to explain. Action scenes, pretty good. Pretty cool action scenes. We have another villain, a female, I think it's a female replicant. Pretty asshole-ish. And she doesn't take no for an answer. She's like, kill you or you die. P.S. Before he came to the orphanage, he got attacked by some form of resistance replicants of some sort. Some form of resistant replicants. And they try to kill him. And then the chick that is the assistant or something, she's like, killing them all with air assault drones things, like that. And she's like, do your job and find that kid. Which is funny because the main protagonist is the kid. So I thought, at least. Spoiler warning, the main protagonist thinks that he's the kid. So his superior officer in the detective agency protects him instead. Because he lied and he said the kid is dealt with, he's killed, basically. Anyway, in the other thing I talked about, the memory thing that he investigates with the other chick, the memory is very real, and she says it's very real, it cannot be fake. So then the main protagonist realizes he has always think that he was a robot, he always think that he was a replicant, but he is not. And the chick also cries of those memories because they are so very real. But in the end of the movie, spoiler warning now, in the end of the movie, we discover that the main protagonist that I think was so badass, and we followed, wasn't the main protagonist. It was a daughter that was born. But in the records, P.S., in the record scene where he finds in the Russian record scene, there were 2 children that were born in the same date of 1921. 1921, I think it is. I'm not sure. But there were 2 children born. One a girl and one a boy. The one that was a boy was living, and the other one that was a girl died of complications. So they seem, at least. Anyway, our main protagonist does some cool fights against the evil chick that is the right hand of the main bad guy. That is John Lennon's character. Pretty cool with the chips that he had in his neck. P.S. Pretty cool with the chips. And he controls some drones of some sort. Anyway, the bad guy is pretty also evil. Parts about him now. He's pretty evil. He cuts up a replicant's stomach, a female replicant's stomach, and he has a very crazy god fucking complex. Like, cuckoo. But I like the bad guy. He reminded me of Jeffrey from Game of Thrones. Pretty nice. And also, I really hate Jeffrey. I'm happy that he's dead. Spoiler warning for that though. But I'm happy he's dead. People maybe know. Anyway, I enjoyed the movie, and we also see Liam Neeson. Or not Liam Neeson. We also see Han Solo, which is Harrison Ford. We also see him as the original Bladerunner that we are hunting and helping, trying to find our answers. And we go the farthest reach outside of a nuclear zone in this movie. Which I would understand, yeah. Future, always a grim future. Always need to have nuclear energy somewhere. Somewhere, always need to have it. It's like a trope. They always need to have it somewhere. But it's interesting. Anyway, he goes to a type of casino that was destroyed and stuff. And he does a fight with the bad guy's henchman woman. And then his girlfriend replicant dies, unfortunately. But she said, P.S. again, she said, if I die, I know if you take me out of the basement, if you take me out, not to the basement, if you take me out of the house, and you take out my ship, and you convert me into this little portable USB, a portable USB that he had, she knows if the USB dies, she dies as well. But she's able to take the risk. And she wants to take the risk. Yeah, the main protagonist's girlfriend named him also Joe. I think. Yeah, Joe. Anyway, we do climatic fight scenes. We do some climatic fight scenes, chase scenes as well. And also some interesting scenes about the old photo of the main protagonist's, the original main protagonist's girlfriend, which was in the first movie, which I've actually seen. And she has some photos, she is in some photos, and he sees where the 3 horse is gonna be. The 3 horse he found before in the orphanage, where it's gonna be and stuff. But one thing I criticize about this movie is when he checks the horse thing, when he checks the horse tree statue, he checks it's too long. Like, it drags a bit too long. Anyway, he puts it back in where the lion and an elephant tree figurine should be, and it makes sense. So he then realizes that he is the son, but then the replicant rebellions say to him that he is not the chosen one. So in the end, it was the daughter that is the one that cannot go out of her glass bubble that I told you before in this movie. So then he says, go and see your daughter to Harrison Ford in the end of the movie. And they do. And they have a happy, touchy moment. While our main protagonist dies on the doorsteps outside. Yeah, he dies. Maybe. We don't know. He will maybe come back into the third movie. Maybe the third movie. He will maybe come back to the third movie. Maybe. I want to see the bad guy kicked, though. I want to see the bad guy kicked from his god pedestal of the organization of... the organization of Bladerunner, basically. I didn't remember everything. It was a low movie, but I enjoyed it very much. It was pretty funny, enjoyable. Also, some replicants and some human had also a weird place where they did something weird. That was one of the scenes in the city. Anyway, we continue. We see you next time. My score for this movie in total is 10 out of 10, no questions asked. Bye bye, we see you next time.